Jarell Quansah has reportedly accused the VAR of sabotage after his straight red card in England's World Cup opener at the Estadio Azteca. This wasn't just frustration. This wasn't a player losing his cool. This wasn't the heat of the moment. This is serious. Nothing like this has been seen at a World Cup in years. A 21-year-old defender making his tournament debut allegedly stood in the England dressing room at halftime and claimed the officials were looking for a reason to send him off. And there's a detail the FA still hasn't confirmed publicly. Senior players reportedly had to physically block Quansah from approaching the fourth official in the tunnel. And the worst still hasn't come out. Over the next few minutes, you're going to understand exactly what happened and why this turns England's World Cup upside down. When a defender accuses match officials of bias in the middle of a World Cup group stage, it's not just another dressing room disagreement. This is bigger than anyone expected. Thomas Tuchel now faces a FIFA investigation, a fractured squad, and a defensive crisis with England's qualification hopes hanging by a thread. And behind the scenes, it's worse than it looks. It all started in the 38th minute at the Azteca. Jarell Quansah went into a challenge on the edge of the box. The referee initially waved play on. Then VAR intervened. The review took over 4 minutes. Quansah stood, near the halfway line, hands on his hips, staring at the big screen. When the referee walked back and pulled out the red card, Quansah reportedly gestured furiously toward the VAR monitor as he left the pitch. Sources close to the squad insist he used the word predetermined in the tunnel. John Stones allegedly tried to calm him down. Quansah reportedly pushed past him. That's when everything changed. England went into halftime a man down in hostile territory. The dressing room at the Azteca was tense. Quansah, still in his kit with the armband removed, reportedly stood in the center of the room and accused the VAR officials of targeting him. John Stones stepped forward and told him to calm down. Quansah allegedly snapped back that Stones doesn't understand what it's like to be targeted. The room went silent. Thomas Tuchel, standing near the tactics board, reportedly froze mid-sentence and stared at Quansah for several seconds before ordering everyone except Declan Rice and Stones to leave. Through the walls, staff allegedly heard raised voices and the sound of a boot hitting a locker. But this didn't come out of nowhere. Quansah had narrowly beaten out Ezri Quansah for the fourth centre-back spot, and sources suggest Tuchel wavered on the decision until the final 48 hours. Some in the England camp reportedly felt Quansah was too inexperienced for a tournament opener in Mexico's altitude and atmosphere. There had also been quiet frustration among younger players about perceived officiating bias in CONCACAF, dating back to a controversial friendly in Los Angeles 6 months earlier, where England had 2 penalty appeals waved away. And hold on, because the most controversial detail I've saved for the end. On one side, Kobbie Mainoo and Morgan Rogers reportedly sided with Quansah in private, believing the VAR decision was influenced by external pressure. On the other side, Tuchel and senior players like Stones fear that any public accusation of sabotage will bring FIFA sanctions and media distraction for the next 2 matches. Declan Rice allegedly stayed neutral, but warned that airing grievances publicly would backfire. Inside the England camp, reactions are split. Tuchel's coaching staff is reportedly divided, with some believing Quansah should be sent home for discipline and others arguing that would fracture team unity. The FA has privately urged Tuchel to keep the matter internal. On social media, England fans erupted. Some accuse Quansah of immaturity and costing the team. Others claim the VAR review was suspiciously long and question whether CONCACAF officials are protective of host nations. The English press has already begun debating whether Quansah's tournament is over before it began. What almost nobody noticed was this. The VAR official who reviewed the red card had previously worked a CONCACAF Champions League final involving Mexican opposition. Here's where things become even more complicated. Quansah faces a minimum 1-match ban, but if FIFA opens a conduct investigation based on his alleged comments, he could miss the remainder of the group stage. Dan Burn is expected to start alongside John Stones in the second match, leaving England vulnerable to pace on the counter. The FA has reportedly scheduled a disciplinary hearing, and sources suggest Tuchel may be forced to issue a public apology on behalf of the squad. Now Thomas Tuchel is caught between two bad decisions. If he publicly backs Quansah's claim, England risks a FIFA investigation, potential points deduction, and further scrutiny that could derail qualification from the group. But if he distances himself from Quansah, he fractures dressing room unity and alienates younger players who already felt overlooked, potentially creating a rift that undermines team cohesion when England can least afford it. And fresh reports suggest there is audio from the tunnel that hasn't been released yet. It allegedly contains more explicit accusations from Jarell Quansah. This controversy has overshadowed England's actual result. The team now faces mounting pressure to qualify while managing internal fractures that nobody saw coming. And look, this is far from over. This is the information circulating so far. Over the next few hours, new details should trickle out, and they could turn this whole story upside down. So for you, was Jarell Quansah right to call out the VAR? Or did he just cost England their World Cup dream? Let us know in the comments below. And if you don't want to miss the next major development, subscribe now and turn on notifications, because when this fully breaks, you'll want to be the first to know, not the last.